All right, and we are live, and I'm here with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
Hello, everyone.
He's of course once again broadcasting from Silent Hill, and
It's very scary up here.
we got a few things to talk about tonight. Yeah, I just got a book in the mail. I ordered it. It's called On Bullshit by Henry G. Frankfurt. Henry G. Frankfurt is let me go to this one page here where it says it. Is a renowned moral philosopher, professor of philosophy in Princeton University, at least as of, I think, 05 this book came out. When was the date? Let me check. Well, this is printed in 05, but then there's another. It looks like there's another date in 1929. I don't know. I didn't really know anything about this book, and I still don't, although I read a couple pages today. The reason I got it is because it was in an AVGN episode. He called video game bullshit and then referred to this philosophy book to prove his point. And I thought, I love that kind of shit. I love a high-minded look at lowbrow shit. There's something about that just really just right up my alley. When somebody wants to overanalyze and philosophize something that just does not deserve to be overanalyzed, such as the term bullshit. One of my favorite books is a book called Fuck, Word Taboo, and something another. But it's actually on the history of the word fuck. Like legal battles regarding it, various theories as to where the word came from. There's no real solid knowledge of how this word originated, and I just find that sort of stuff fascinating. I have a bit of a epistemology. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I have a bit of an interest in kind of the study of words. Nothing major. I'm not a big brain nibba out there saving the West, but I have a bit of an interest. That's the book right there. That's the book. That is a fantastic book. I picked that up years ago. Borders is where I bought it, just to show you how long ago I picked that up. And I mean, I read that thing cover to cover in like a weekend, and it's not a thin book. I could not put it down. Basically, reading that book was all I did that weekend. But great book. I highly recommend it. I might throw up like a reading list videos at some point of just some books I'd recommend, oddball shit here and there. So I had an interesting exchange on Facebook today that I found downright surreal. One of the Nintendo groups I'm in on Facebook, somebody posted a picture, and I'd actually seen this at Target too, but if you go to, let's say a Target, for instance, I presume same at the Walmart or whatever, you might see over at the video game section a brand new Wii game. And you didn't hear me wrong there, folks. An original Nintendo Wii game, brand new, here in the current year. And that game would, of course, be Just Dance 2019. Because long after a console dies, the shovelware continues to feed off its corpse. And, I made comment. Somebody, posted a picture of that, and they were just, I can't believe they're still making Wii games. And in all fairness, those oddball, like annual shovelware games, they continue to pop up on systems long after a system is dead. And then you get all sorts of oddball stuff that pops up on systems. For example, the NES had games officially released on it coming up to like 95. It had a 10-year lifespan.
But not just any Just Dance game. It's Just Dance 2019.
Dance 2019. Now, I called it shovelware in a post under it. I said, the shovelware lingers long after a console's dead. Some people got mad at me for referring to Just Dance as shovelware. And they were mad at me. See, because they were like, lots of people like Just Dance. And I'm like, so what? Shovelware can be popular. Well, then what is shovelware? I'm like, it's things that are just quickly farted out that take little to no effort. They're cash-ins. I mean, what do I got to explain the concept of shovelware for you? It doesn't matter if it fucking sells well. You know? I mean, Corey in the House on the DS, I don't know how many it sold, but it could have sold 1 billion fucking copies. It doesn't matter. You know? They're getting so fucking mad at me. And they're like, you know, they're trying to talk to me about all the tender, loving care that goes into fucking making, like, let me rephrase that goes into farting out the annual edition of Just Dance. Okay? Like, Luke, don't you know that they got to spend most of an afternoon shoving the latest Rihanna fucking songs into the newest version of Just Dance? How dare I disrespect that hard work?
Indeed, you need to have a great respect for the people doing a lot of hard work.
And you know what? You can enjoy Just Dance, okay? You can. Far be it for me to tell somebody they're having fun wrong, okay? If you like Just Dance, that's fucking fantastic. I am glad you're having a grand old time with it, okay? But I don't think it's controversial to say that not a tremendous amount of work goes into farting out the latest Just Dance, okay? It's probably like, okay, look up what the fucking top 40 songs of the past few months have been. Contact the record labels, get the rights, and I don't know, just shove it into the existing fucking game engine, and boom, there you go. Oh, they got to choreograph a new dance. Oh, I'm sure that takes all of a fucking day to record a new fucking dance for it. Wow. Let's all throw the Just Dance developers a fucking parade, shall we? For their hard work. And you know what? On one level, I don't care how hard the work is. I mean, you know, you could beat a rock up against the ground for 8 hours a day. That's hard fucking work, but what the hell have you accomplished? And again, you know what? If you like fucking Just Dance, that's fine. You like a goofy fucking piece of shovelware game where you just, you know, you and your buddies have a little dance off to some pop music. That's fine. All you 40-year-old fucking moms that buy the latest Just Dance, I hope you're having a grand old fucking time. But, you know, that doesn't change the fact that it's shovelware. And you know what? I'm going to go a little further. You know, we've been talking about sports games on here and the oddball corner of the game industry. I'm going to say that sports games are fucking shovelware. By and large, sports games are fucking shovelware. Now they're popular. Like I said, a new Madden sells like a candy-coated AIDS cure, but how much work really goes into a new fucking Madden? I mean, they don't tweak. Very little is tweaked in the game engine, I imagine. Okay, yeah, I guess there's a lot of animations and recording voiceovers and stuff like that. But I bet you making a new Madden is like a finely tuned fucking machine right now. And not a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It's probably almost automated. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm hardly a fucking programmer or developer myself. Maybe there's a tremendous amount of fucking work that goes into a new Madden. And wouldn't that be a shame for all that blood, sweat, and tears to go into something that's forgotten a year later? But yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that most sports games are count as shovelware. Because I think one of the quintessential parts of shovelware, in my opinion, is that it's oh so disposable. You know, you got this picture up here, Luke, and you know a lot of people might have bought fucking M&M racers on the Wii. A lot of people might have bought Meet the Robertsons on the fucking Wii, right? And maybe people worked hard on those things, but guess what? They were cash-ins, really, you know, and they were forgotten like a year after they came out. But it was just very surreal to have people angrily defending the fucking, how dare I besmirch the obvious artistry of Just Dance 2019. You don't know anything about the Just Dance games. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I missing out on the deep lore? Is that what I is? Like, yeah. Oh, you know what? Another good example. I don't know. Like, remember, maybe they're still popular. I don't know, but I know in like the PS2 era, there were tons of like hunting games, like Cabela's and fucking Bass Pro Shop used to put out like fishing and hunting games and shit, right? And some of those for the time were the graphics and animations on them were really well done, but they were fucking shovelware. They were fucking shovelware.
Yeah, I can't imagine a big mascot coming from one of these games.
Maybe shovelware is almost like pornography. You don't exactly have a hard and fast definition, but you know it when you see it. Maybe that'll be our definition of shovelware. Okay, but it's fucking shovelware. Okay. What were we talking about the other night where I mentioned fucking Lizzie McGuire on the Game Boy Advance, which is a game I made up that turned out to have existed? That's shovelware, folks. And again, you know what? If you're fucking happy with Just Dance 2019, you're having a grand old time with it. I don't begrudge you that at all. It, I'm not one of these big brain nibbas out here who's going to sneer at people for having fun. I try not to be, at least. Sometimes I'm sure I do. But I try not to be that guy. I do try not to be that guy. But it's shovelware. Let me put it this way. I said the other day, I was thinking maybe I'll grab like NHL 15 or 14 or something on the 360 just because I've been in the mood to play some hockey games lately. And as I pick it up from the fucking store and spend my $3, I'm sure it probably costs, it's shovelware. I'm buying fucking shovelware. You can have fun with shovelware and it's still shovelware, okay? I'm not saying there's no fun that can be had from it. I'm sure some poor fucking girl that got Lizzie McGuire on the Game Boy Advance managed to squeeze some fun out of it. All right. Well, moving on from that, it was fucking surreal, man. Like, you have people, and they were mad at me. Like, they were fucking mad at me about it. Like, how dare you? How dare you, sir?
Would Primal Rage be considered shovelware?
No, that's a real game. I would call Primal Rage. I would call it an underrated classic. Primal Rage was a lot of fun. And I actually think Primal Rage kind of has some kind of cool backstory and lore to it. Let's see. Going through the chat here. Saving the West in Suits sounds like a goofy band name. Surprised there isn't a Dreamcast version of that game. Not sure what game. I guess Just Dance, maybe. I don't know. Somebody says, I think accurate descriptors get lazily used as epithets, and so people will when you call a thing what it is. That's fair. What up with that Angry Goy game? Oh yeah, dude, that looked. There's some like I think it's like a Flash game or something. I just saw somebody bitching about it. Like some leftist E-rag was bitching about it. It's some like top-down kind of shooter game where you shoot like a bunch of minorities and gay people and all that are coming after you. It's just piss off the libs game. I think you can play as Moon Man in it or something like that. But Madden 1488 is a masterpiece. You take it back, Bechtloff. Let's see. Going through here. Let's see. Game Boy Advance is the best handheld held. Well, one of the cool things about getting a Game Boy Advance is it's backwards compatible with the Game Boy Color and Game Boy. So, I mean, if you have a If you have a 3DS and a Game Boy Advance, you have all of Nintendo's handheld library accessible, I guess. Let's see. I remember renting Primal Rage back in the day for the Genesis. Can esports get you as much tang, money, and controversy as real sports? I kind of doubt it. Talking shovelware, where's Nostalgia Wound when you need him? I don't know. We'll throw up the bat signal, see if he shows up. Bechtloff / Mud Shark. What Mud Shark? Oh, because Land Shark. Okay, I was like, who's Mud Shark? Bechtloff / Mud Shark stream a wrestling game and custom create President Crenshaw. I have some fond memories with wrestling games, and again, you could argue wrestling games are kind of shovelware, but I have some fond memories with a few wrestling games. My one roommate, we used to play some wrestling games on the PS2. I don't know which one. They came out like every fucking year. That's another. If your game series is on an annual release, you are at the very least skirting the edges of shovelware. You're flirting with shovelware territory, at least. But one of my best memories of wrestling games in high school, a buddy of mine had a wrestling game on the PS1. My best friend, it's still to this day my best friend. Great guy. He's a full-blooded Native American. I like to call him Squanto. Nobody else calls him that, by the way. Only I call him that. In fact, I remember one time in high school, he punched some guy in the face who called him Squanto, and the dude was like on the ground, all like indignant, like Bechtloff calls you that, and he just looked at him. He was like, Bechtloff can. And but anyways, he's playing this fighting game. It's something on the PS1, and he of course made the character. He made him fuck it himself in the game. I constantly bust his balls on that. That just seems so fucking ridiculous to me. Like just borderline narcissist to just fucking shove yourself in the game. Like I make characters that are nothing like myself. Like I think my first playthrough on Saints Row 2, for example, I made like a hot redhead chick. And I think my second playthrough on it, I made like a British dude or something. So I could go for like a British punk kind of thing. Like I make characters nothing like myself, right? He makes himself in those games. He's one of those guys. So I come over and he's got his finely tuned character of himself. And I'm not really much of a wrestling guy. So I'm not taking it seriously at all. So I make a bunch of ridiculous bullshit, right? I make like this obese, fat black guy who's wearing I think he was wearing like Japanese samurai armor on the torso part. He had like a thong on the fucking like legs part and high heels. Yeah, and he had a dinosaur mask. There was a dinosaur mask in this game for some fucking reason. And he carried a mop as his weapon, and he came out to the opening like theme of The Godfather. So he's got like the hoe train in the background, right? And this ridiculous bullshit. Oh, I called it the Stegopus. And that was a reference to a Saturday Night Live skit we had just watched on like Comedy Central, like an old one, where it's like a fake toy commercial of like armor you could put on your cat. And one of them was like a Stegosaurus plates, and it was called the Stegopus or whatever. Stupid, dumb teenagers goofing off, right? So I make the Stegopus. I make it the most ridiculous, stupid thing I can come up with. And I wrestle his character. Him and I, playing against each other. And through dumb fucking luck, I beat him and take his belt. And he was salty as fuck. He was so mad. Like, well, I don't want to play this anymore. And like the next time I come over, I like turned it on and I want to see if my character was still on there. And he had taken the belt back and deleted the character angrily. He was having none of the Stegopus. He was having none of it. Oh man, good times.
Well, this isn't quite a Stegopus, but it is a heavyweight.
Just some fat black guy in a fucking dinosaur mask, like coming out to the hoe train music. It's just so stupid. Like I made the dumbest thing I could come up with. Let's see. What the hell else? Oh yeah, so there's a Detective Pikachu movie now. Um,
Yeah, that's a thing apparently.
I kept hearing that was a thing, but it's like, look, I'm an old school comic book fan, okay? I've been a comic book fan since the mid 90s. Do you know how many times I heard of comic book movies that were coming out and then they just never happened? Okay. Like years before Ghost Rider was made over at, I think, Columbia, the Dimension was supposed to put out a Ghost Rider movie around the same time as the first X-Men movie. Didn't fucking happen. Um, I'm kind of of the mindset that even if I hear like they're filming it, I don't believe it. Until I see a trailer, I don't fucking believe it's coming out. And especially on something like Detective Pikachu, which is just a terrible fucking idea. But here's the thing about Detective Pikachu, because I didn't really know how I even felt about it when I first watched it. I'm like, I think I need to process this before I form an opinion. Like I need to come to grips with the reality that this is indeed a thing. Um, I kind of like it. I gotta say, it's a bad idea, but it's that very special kind of bad idea. The kind of bad idea that could that is most likely going to go terribly wrong and not work, but could end up being something downright magical. It's the kind of bad idea Hollywood doesn't do anymore. Okay. Like, I'm sorry, think back to some of your favorite movies, and a lot of them on paper sound like a terrible fucking idea that could go horribly wrong. Roger Rabbit sounds like a terrible fucking idea on paper that shouldn't work, and indeed almost didn't. The animation in that was insane. Like, there's at one point, Bob Hopkins he tells a story of how, like, he's supposed to grab the rabbit's neck in a scene, right? And he reaches over to grab the air. You know, they have to act with the fucking air. That's another thing that could have gone terribly wrong. He grabs the air, and the director yells "cut," and he's like, "What happened?" And he comes up to him. He goes, Bob, you have to keep your fingers closed. What do you mean? He goes, do you know how much extra money animating in between your fingers is going to cost us? Close your damn fingers. Little shit like that could have just completely fucked up the whole spiel on it. The whole shebang. And other movies. Just think back to other movies that you just could have easily. Beetlejuice. Explain Beetlejuice on paper to somebody, and it's the kind of thing that could have easily been a fucking disaster. Just a big pile of nonsense, and it turned out beautifully. And you know what? Detective Pikachu is one of those things. First of all, I think the Pokemon all look surprisingly good. There's a nice balance between a realistic style and they're still cartoonishly enough that they're not horrifying. They're not I don't know how else to put it. They're not horrifying, but they're realistic looking enough that you can kind of accept that they're things. You know what I mean? They kind of mesh with the world around them. Um, it looks good in the trailer. I have to admit, it looks good. Um, and I didn't think it would, but damned if it doesn't work. And why Detective Pikachu? If you're gonna do a live action Pokemon movie, why don't you just do a fucking live action Pokemon movie? With fucking Pokemon trainers, and they want to be the best. You know, they want to be the very best, like no one ever was. But no, we're doing this oddball fucking side thing. I don't know why. I don't know if that's testing the waters for something, because this is kind of a smaller scale, so it's probably not as expensive to do. It's a bit more grounded in a real, semi-real cityscape kind of thing. I don't know though. I think this could actually be really, really good. Like, I'm kind of excited about it. It might actually break my no theater rule. Um, We'll see. We'll see on it. The other thing, of course, that happened yesterday is Stan Lee finally passed on us. That was a long time coming. He's not been doing well for a while, and indeed, it sounds like the last couple years of his life were very rough. There was fighting with his children, just all sorts of a mess. And I had not paid attention to a lot of that drama. I hadn't covered it. Partly because I don't like digging through people's private drama. I mean, I know, we do cover a lot of drama on here, but it's like, I respect Stan Lee for obvious reasons, and I don't want to be digging through his trash. And also, I just didn't want to face it. I didn't want to look at, him going through terrible things. What am I going to help him? This guy's like this kindly old grandfather of pop culture. I didn't want to. I just didn't even want to see terrible things happening to him. He finally passed at the age of 95 yesterday, and you cannot overstate the importance of this guy. You just can't. I heard somebody say that other than Robert Heinlein, no writer in the 20th century was more influential, and even that's debatable. You simply cannot overstate. Razorfist did a great video on him too, where he talked about a lot of the the lesser known accomplishments of this man. I mean, everybody said George Lucas pioneered, merchandising things. No, Stan the man fucking pioneered merchandising things. He was a big factor in bringing all this fucking anime Gooktoon shit over to the US. The Epic line at Marvel was the first Western company to do a translated and colorized version of what was it, Kira, I think, before Dark Horse ever did. And it's just you can't overemphasize the impact of this man. Spider-Man was my favorite fictional thing for the lion's share of my life. It's still one of my favorite things. The stain of one more day, sadly, will probably never be washed off that franchise. But it's still one of my favorite things. Just the characters this guy created, the storytelling this guy created, it can't be overemphasized. Spider-Man, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, the Avengers, the original X-Men, Silver Surfer. Yeah, the list goes on and on. There's just no there's no overemphasizing it. And it was sad. It was sad to see him go. Even though he's kind of been gone for a while, it was still sad. The world would have been a far less cool place had he never been, and it's a far less cool place with him not drawing breath. I was on Gab yesterday, and I get so tired of my fellows on the right sometimes, on this dissident right, whatever. Some cocksucker on Gab had a tweet or whatever you call it on Gab, where it's like, ha ha ha, Jew down. It's like, get fucked, man. Look, I didn't know Stan Lee personally, obviously. Maybe behind the scenes, he was an absolute shitbag. And he was a man. I'm sure he wasn't perfect regardless, but he always seemed to have the utmost professionalism. He always seemed like an absolute sweetheart. I just there's times I get really sick of the people that can't see anything except through a political lens. They can't just enjoy a good story. Is this cathartic? Is this good propaganda for my particular political view? I mean, the left very famously does that, where they can't see art, they can only see propaganda. But there's more than a few on the right that do the same. Great. Stan Lee did some great stuff. And of all his Silver Age stuff, and obviously I'm a little biased towards it, I think the Spider-Man stuff held up the best. It feels the least bit dated. And I mean, we're talking about 50-year-old comics, so that's saying something. Although his Silver Surfer stuff is quite good too. But yeah, like I said, there's no overemphasizing the impact that guy had. And like I said, I didn't know him personally. He seemed like a really great guy by all accounts, but who knows? But regardless, if I could say one thing to him, I'd just say thank you. My life was cooler because of your work. There's a sense in which being an entertainer in general, Joan Rivers said this once, and she was talking about being a comedian, but it applies to just being an entertainer in general, where if you were normal, if you were sane, you'd go get a real job. That it's not a job with the truly great in it. It's a calling. And yeah, like I said, there's really just no overemphasizing the impact the guy had on things. Somebody says, just got here. We're eulogizing Stan Lee. Yeah, a little bit. Good old Stan. He's one of those guys, too, that for almost the last 20 years of his life look the same. Those guys that they get old and then they're just old for 20, 30 years. Like George Burns was that way. Where George Burns looked like the same from 79 to 99, And yeah, Stan Lee was that way, man. My buddy and I used to joke Stan Lee was a vampire. He just got bit when he was already old. Oh, we got Nostalgia Wound in the chat. Praises dead Jews, votes for Trump. Yeah, I know. I'm not alt-right enough.
Here lies a man who mythologized our childhood. From you to me, Smiling Stan. Comics won't be the same without you. Excelsior.
Somebody in the chat says, has anyone made a Bible comic? A few people have, actually. I mean, yeah, tons of people have done. I think it's R. Crumb. He did a really, at times, very ugly version of the Book of Genesis, but I don't want to say realistic because he doesn't have a realistic style, but It's not a little kiddie Sunday school version of the Book of Genesis. He tried to be as true to the source material as possible. Nostalgia Wound says he's finishing Epic Mickey right now. Let's see. That Arth Crumb thing is really incredible, though. Yeah, it's a great. Another one I have. I guess it's considered comic book format because it's little panels telling the story. I have something called the Brick Bible that actually tells Bible stories using like panels of Legos. Let's see. So he says I have a comic illustration of the Bible. It's damn graphic. Well, yeah. There's quite a few things in the Bible that are a hard R. I just, I don't get the people that they have to politicize everything. It's just so fucking exhausting. Like, how do you live your life that way? How the fuck do you live your life that way? Like, what kind of life is that?
A boring one.
Yeah, just.
I mean, at the risk of going off on tangent, I just recently saw the whole season of She-Ra, and the people who are the most annoying about it are the people who are trying to make it, oh, it's a big progressive justice warrior movement. No, it's not. Just a silly kid show.
There's certain people for whom, and I've noticed this with a lot of people, and there's no such thing as art to them. There is only propaganda. There is only fucking propaganda. And while it's certainly interesting to take even the most innocuous bits of pop art and try and look for themes and deeper meaning in it and all, like if you're not able to just enjoy a story, a cartoon, a movie, a TV show for what it is, just at the surface, without having to worry about, is this red pilled enough for me? Is this feminist enough for me? Is this fucking cathartic? Is this tell the hero's journey? It's like, no, this is an episode of a sitcom. Why would it tell the hero's journey? Like, like pull your head out of your ass once in a while, man. I once heard a theologian. I can't remember his name. It was a preacher. I shouldn't say theologian. I don't know how, what his credentials were, but it was a preacher. And he was sort of talking about this crap of, people wanting to make a big stink out of everything. And he was talking about, the part in the Bible where Jesus turns water into wine at the wedding. And he says, do you know why? Do you know why Jesus turned the water into wine? So they would have more wine. Like, so that so the wedding could continue. Like, sure, you can look for, but there was certainly more to it than that. But that thing you just saw at the surface, that was most of it. And sometimes that's fine. I'm not saying you should be blind to maybe, if something you're enjoying is trying to propagandize you or something. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Maybe you don't like go out looking for it.
Just be aware that media can affect you if you're not realizing it. I mean, if I stopped everything that was political, I would never watch anything ever again, especially in this day and age.
But like again, though, it's like there's so many people they want it to be political. They want to fight about it. They don't want to just enjoy anything. Nostalgia Wound says, I've been working on. Somebody asked him if he'd write any fiction. He says, I've been working on a spiritual sequel to Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I don't know if he's kidding. Like, honestly, Nostalgia Wound, I kind of hope you're not. I kind of hope you're not kidding. I want to see that. I'll help kick fund that fucking video game. Oh, he says he's not. Oh, that's a shame. I would have donated to your Kickstarter there, Nostalgia Wound. Okay. Like, heaven forbid things just be fucking fun. Like, just have a little fun in life. I don't get people that just they want. Oh, he says he's not kidding. He means, oh, okay. Well, good. Yeah, there's really no overemphasizing Stan Lee's work, and just the effect he had on our culture. And like I said, he seemed like a decent guy. It's a shame how poorly the last few years of his life seem to be going. Nostalgia Wound says the first chapter is written. It starts with the main character trying to get a loan from S&G International Bank, but can't because his microchip data says he went to church once. Well, that would be okay, though, because it's a private company discriminating against him. Oh, these fucking cucks that like, well, Twitter's a private business. They can throw you off. YouTube's a private business. They can throw you off. Like, 20 years from now, your Amazon smart car won't start because Alexa heard you say nigger yesterday. So you can't go to work. And they're just okay with that future. And you weren't even saying derogatory. You were just singing along to a rap song. Oh, Lordy. Luke, have you ever seen the show Duckman? This is completely random, but
Well, yes, I have. What about it?
I was just watching a review of it on some YouTube channel here earlier tonight, and that show was fucking great, and so far ahead of its time. I remember watching it when I was like 11 or 12. Wasn't really supposed to be watching it, but I'd watch it anyways. It came on right after the Weird Science TV show, which was also great. But man, I love that show. I loved that show. That show was fantastic. It had a really ugly animation and art style. It was actually the same studio that did Rugrats. But whereas I never thought that the animation and art style worked in Rugrats, it works well in Duckman because everything is meant to be ugly.
I just want to get home for my kid's birthday, but this whole leaf blowing, false advertising, traffic stopping, tax dollar squandering, workers on permanent coffee break, upper class money dodging, stolen car parts stealing, sign changing society won't let me. And you know who's to blame? We all are.
God, I love that show. I actually had that on DVD. I picked up the full series a little while back. Great show. All right. Well, I think I've rambled on long enough here. Somebody says Duckman is vulgar as hell, but it had me rolling on the floor. Yeah, it really did. It just absolutely great stuff. Either die a hero or live long enough to become a Disney property. Sadly, you're right. Is that Costanza doing a voice? Yes, Jason Alexander was the voice of Duckman. I actually started as a comic book, although I'd never read any of the original comic books. I'm surprised they never really got reprinted or anything. I mean, the show has quite the cult following. if I ever saw the Duckman original comics reprinted, I'd pick them up right on the spot. You know, if like that trade paperback cost $20 and I had $25 left in my checking account till payday, and my gas tank was full, I'm picking up that trade paperback. All right. I am going to get going, folks.
World,
You're under arrest.
for what? I have a right to speak my mind.
We're arresting you for ranting in public without a starched collar.
All right, folks. Thank you all for listening, and that's about all we got for tonight. We'll definitely be doing a Saturday show. I don't know if we'll be doing any other shows. Based on a weather report I'm hearing, who knows? I might be snowed the fuck in Thursday, so maybe we'll have a show in the middle of the afternoon on Thursday. Who knows? Because man, those fall and spring snowstorms, the big wet, heavy snowstorms, they can really fuck you. But we'll see. That's about all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.